So the next thing which you need to understand is here component lifecycle hooks. So here the component lifecycle is managed by the Angular itself. And these are the various lifecycle hooks method we have inside a component like constructor, ngOnChanges, ngOnInit, ngDoCheck, ngAfterContentInit. This is for content projection. ngAfterContentCheck, that is for again for content projection. After viewInit for the view child, and after view check for the again view child. And then finally we having the ngOnDestroy. That is similar to the destructor we having inside a class. So when it is coming to the methods specific to a simple component, so we deal with these methods: constructor, on changes, which is going to invoke every time whenever you are doing any change in the input parameter. So this ngOnChanges will call if you're willing to track the changes in the input parameter. So here for each change, this method is going to be called. ngOnInit we use for initializing the component. And this method is going to called only once. It is not going to call again and again like to the ngOnChanges, because ngOnChanges method is going to call again and again. So every time when you will change an input parameter, it is going to call, but ngOnInit is going to be called only one time. And it is going to be used to call the remote API. I like to fetch the data from the server and initialize your component. And ngDoCheck is called every time whatever the changes you are doing on the page. So that is coming here from the ngDoCheck. But ngDoCheck we don't use commonly. It is only useful whenever you are going to change the default change detection algorithm of the Angular, because Angular by default having its change detection technique. If you are changing them, then ngDoCheck is doing that. ngOnDestroy is similar to the destructor. So if you're willing to clean anything at the component class label, so let's say you might be added some subscriber for subscribing to the services. And now you want to unsubscribe them. So there, this ngOnDestroy method will help you. If you are having the child component, so in that case, these events are going to be called. So ngAfterContentInit is going to invoke when a component we projected using ngContent. We having ngAfterContentCheck. This is again for change detection. So what are the changes you are doing at the projected component? So those changes are going to be checked in this content checked method. It is again to deal with the change detection mechanism in Angular. So CD is a way to digest the changes we are doing on the UI page. So ultimately, what are the changes you are doing on the UI? They are going to sync to the component class. Even what are the changes you are doing in the component class, they are going to sync with the UI. So for that purpose, we having the change detector. So change detection, if you want to change, if you want to modify, then checked method are helpful over there. So content checked, view checked are going to be used by the Angular change detection mechanism. And one more thing to remember, the hooks are only called for the components, not for the directive. If remembered, when we did the directive class, I just shown the way how we can create a highlight directive. So to that highlight directive, the component hooks are not applicable. So component hooks are only applicable to the component only, not to the directive. So here already from the day one, when we created the component, you will find out we are using this ngOnInit. Okay, so this is just similar to the page load method. So here I can add the another methods as well. So let's say I'm using here console log, and this is my master on init. So this is my master ng on init. Similar way we can use the others as well. This is for view init. We having here for do check as well. Do check. And then we having here on changes. So do check I can define here. On changes we can define here. So do check also I can define. It is do check. Ng do check. This way. So actually ng on changes will not work here. Ng on changes will work in the detail component. Because in the detail component, we having an input decorator, not here. So on changes example, you should see here. On changes. Let me use an ng on changes. Console log. And this is my details. Infect child details. Simply. In master, it is not required. So this is my detail component. And what are the other events we have? Okay. Content init and content checked. So after view init, after view checked here, after view checked. So this one also we can implement after view checked. And this one would be here ng after view checked. I'm just showing the way how they're going to call it so that at least you'll be able to relate them. But mainly we don't use this even for the customization purpose. Master after view checked. So if you will see how it is coming. So in the same one, nested. So you can see it is calling here do check and after view checked. And here for the, okay, I need to come here again like this way. So when first time you're loading, it is calling the onInit, do check, detail, at child label, at master ng onInit, and master we having the after view check. If you will click here, you can see it is calling the do check again. It is calling here after view check. Because the check is here about whatever the event is happening, whatever the changes are happening at the UI, they might update something. So to digest those changes, these methods are going to be fired. So if you want to change any value, so in these methods can be right for that particular component elements we are willing to change over there. But if it is fine, we can go ahead further and mainly just do focus on these events constructor where we define the default value for the class members or we initialize the class member. On change is only applicable when you have been at the red input decorator, otherwise it is not. So second important event is here ngOnInit, which we commonly use to call the API to populate the data from the database. So such code we always prefer to write in ngOnInit. So mainly that's why I'm saying just look at these event constructor, onInit, and destroy. These three are main. Do check, we rarely change. On change is only applicable to the input one. And if you are not using the view child, these are not going to be used. If you're not using the content projection, these are not also going to be used. But if you're using content projection, then you need to know these two events. If you're using the view child, then you need to know these events.